Joining me today is former UFC middleweight champion Robert Whittaker, who takes on Kelvin Gastelum in the main event of UFC Fight Night on April 17. Rob, how's it going?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing good. Of course, you get the change in opponent. You were originally scheduled to fight Paulo Costa. Any thought at all of getting that Paulo fight rescheduled, or were you kind of dead set on competing on April 17?
I was pretty dead set on competing at the date that was originally put down because, I had gone through most of the camp. All the work was done. I had organised my whole life around that date. So to be able to still compete on that date, thankfully Gastelum stepped in and I'm still able to do that. I'm very fortunate.
What was that process like? Did they come to you with Gaslam straight away? Did you tell them, look, I want to compete on April 17? Because I'm assuming the name mattered a little bit, or were you willing to fight anyone? I mean, you're being in the position you are in the rankings and everything. I mean, obviously Gaslam is a very formidable opponent, but what was that process like in terms of getting you a new opponent?
It was kind of seamless. It all kind of just flowed away. By the time the conversation got to me, the Polo had dropped out and Gaslam had stepped in. So it was kind of a no-brainer. I got upset at first because my OCD flared up and I don't like last-minute changes. But I started looking at the silver lining. I'm still very happy to fight at that date. All the work was done. Like I said, I wanted to fight at the date. I want to get a fight in. And I guess they're all killers at the end of the day. It doesn't really matter who it is that I'm fighting.
Absolutely. And you're already familiar with Kelvin. Of course, you guys were scheduled to fight at UFC 234. You unfortunately had to withdraw for emergency surgery. Did it help a little bit that you were quite familiar with him and you had gone through a training camp for him before?
Yes, yeah, definitely. So like exactly as you said, because I had been scheduled to fight him before, I had a lot of the work in the bank for him. So I'm familiar with his fight style and his different habits. But also, I've fought a lot of southpaws, and Till was a southpaw most recently, so I was able to adjust relatively quickly.
Yeah, and speaking of Darren Till, I'm sure you've heard the news that he had to withdraw. It looks like Kevin Holland threw his name in the hat. That's not official yet, but it seems like him and Marvin verbally agreed. That being said, of course, Israel Adesanya has been vocal about saying Darren Till is the guy he's eyeing. Of course, should he beat, should he have beaten Vittori. But when you hear that Darren Till is kind of out of the equation, do you feel like your chances of getting that title shot, your path to the title shot, just got clearer?
I'm not too worried, to be honest. Nothing. There is no dates or opponents past Kelvin at the moment. Kelvin's too hard of a fight for me to predict past.
And was Calvin on your mind in the past? I mean, was it kind of like unfinished business? Like you didn't get to fight him? Were you hoping to fight him down the line, or were you past that fight when it fell through?
Honestly, there's no fight I look forward to. There's no fight I particularly want to run or anything like that. It's just I'll fight whoever I'm supposed to, whoever they put into the ring with me. I'll go at. I do feel like I owe him a fight because we were supposed to fight and it fell through. So the fact that we get to cross paths now is better late than never.
And what did you make of Israel Adesanya in general, saying that he was eyeing Darren Till? I mean, you hold a win over him. You've taken out kind of two contenders out of that title picture in Darren Till and Jared Cannonier. So when you heard him say that, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, it's honestly it is what it is. He's the champ. That's the some of the perks when you're at the top. So I guess I'll just bide my time.
What did you think of his fight with Jan Blachowicz?
I thought it was a good fight. I thought it was. I think they both fought very well. I thought Jan had a good game plan going in. I thought Izzy fought well. It was a hard fight.
And let's talk about the matchup with Calvin. He went through a three-fight losing skid. After he went through his war with Israel Adesanya, there was the notion that whether that war took a toll on him. I think you're quite familiar with that when you went through your fights with Yoel Romero, and people were wondering if those took a toll on you. You took some time off. You've looked great as of late with back-to-back wins. Calvin just bounced back with a win over Ian Heinisch. So what were your thoughts on his performance over Ian? And do you feel like in that losing skid, perhaps that war with Israel took a bit of a toll on him?
Yeah, fights like that definitely take it out of you. So the war he had with Izzy was yeah, it takes it out of you. You can't have too many fights like that. I know firsthand because it took it out of me. But he's back in the winning column now, so his confidence is going to be higher than it has been, and he's going to come at me. He's got nothing to lose, so it's going to. I think it'll be an interesting fight.
Do you see any changes from the Kelvin that you prepared for UFC 234 to the Kelvin now?
And not too much. I think definitely the styles make fights. So he went into that fight with a game plan of wrestling and controlling the fight that way. I don't think he's going to be able to do that against me. So he'll adjust, I'll adjust, and we'll have to see what happens on the night.
And how do you see the fight playing out with Kelvin?
I think I'm going to be too much for him. I think my striking is too crisp. I think it's too fast. I think I've got too many weapons. He may try to take me down a couple of times, and I think it'll only work into his detriment because it's a 5-round fight, and wrestling takes it out of you.
And I'm sure you've heard that a few of the events are going to have crowds again. Not yours. Were you disappointed that they weren't able to get a full capacity crowd for your event?
Yeah, not at all. I kind of enjoyed the quiet.
Yeah, like what about it? Like, is it just less pressure? Is it just being able to hear your corner? What do you prefer about fighting with no crowd?
No, it's just all the little things like less media, less open workouts, less things to do there. It's nice.
And I'm assuming when you want to get back to a crowd, you're going to want to do it in Australia, right?
Yeah, that'll be good. It'd be good to fight back home again.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll leave you with a couple more questions. And I appreciate your time. It seems like Adesanya's focused back on middleweight. I know you don't want to look past Kelvin, but surely this is a win over Kelvin's got to be a title shot, right? Is that the way you're looking at it?
Can't look past him. He's too hard. As soon as I start to look past him, he'll beat me. So I need to give him the respect he's due, and I'm going to go in this fight and give it my all.
For sure. And do you have kind of a prediction of how the fight is going to play out with Kelvin?
I think I put him away in the second. That's that's my prediction.
He is known for his durability. You're known for your power. He's got power in his hands as well. But we kind of alluded to the whole thing of him going through wars and stuff like that. Do you feel like that's going to play a bit of a factor in terms of his durability and his ability to wear damage?
It's hard to say. It's it is too hard to say and to predict. All I know is that I'm going to go in this fight the best Rob Whittaker I've been, and I'm going in this fight very happy, and a happy Rob's a dangerous one.
And if Marvin does end up fighting Kevin Holland, it seems like that's the fight that's going to play out. The fight that's going to happen. How do you see that one playing out? Who do you think gets the job done?
You'd think Marvin would have to be the favorite because he's been prepping this whole time, and Holland's just come off a loss, so you would that's how you would see it play out, but how it's actually going to play out, no one knows.
Right, and of course, you recently had a son, correct? How's that been like a new addition to the Whittaker family?
Yeah, it's pure chaos here. The household is chaos, but it's beautiful. I love my kids, and they just make everything better.
Do they understand what their dad does? Obviously not the new one, but like your other kids?
No, I don't think so. It's hard to say. Yeah, it's hard to say. Not really. My oldest is only 5, and he's kind of in his own world anyway. So,
do you plan on kind of keeping them away from the fight game, or you wouldn't mind if they started to get into some training down the line?
They can do whatever they want as long as they're happy.
For sure. And you've been pretty active ever since coming back from your break. I mean, you fought against Darren Till in July. You fought Jared Cannonier. You're fighting killer after killer. I feel like your mentality is kind of so dialed in, like even saying like, I'm not going to look past Kelvin, and just your willingness to fight against everyone. Because a lot of people in your position would have been like, no, I mean, I should get that title shot. So do you feel that shift in mentality since you've come back from that hiatus?
Sort of. It's I've always wanted to fight more. I've always wanted to have that sort of fight schedule. It's just a thing of like when everything's right, I'll do it. And now that I have much more balance in my life, and I'm enjoying the process so much more, and I'm enjoying the fights, and I'm enjoying the training. It just makes taking fights real easy.
Are you surprised that we haven't like had a show in Australia announced? We're seeing full capacity crowds happen in the US, which I'm a little bit surprised about. But are you surprised that there hasn't been a show announced for Australia? And do you expect, like, have you been hearing anything? Do you expect that maybe we can potentially get a show this year?
Yeah, well, Australia's looking pretty good in terms of the testing and whatnot. What actually happens, it's hard to say. I know Australia is really strong with this lockdown and of the virus, so we'll have to wait and see.
And I know you're not looking past Kelvin, but I'm assuming the dream scenario would be you getting that title fight against Adesanya in Australia, right?
Yeah, that would be great. But honestly, the fighting in Australia period is pretty good.
I agree. Well, Rob, I appreciate you taking a few minutes here. Best of luck on April 17th. Glad you're still on the card. I'm sure a lot of people echo the same sentiment. So best of luck on the 17th.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.